I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, big in the news was the whole speaker showdown. They're calling the 20 great holdouts, what a blah blah blah, that, you know, whereas the leftist media was all, they're terrorists, you know, they're rebels, blah blah blah. And then you had, you know, supposed conservative channel news like Fox telling them they're pieces of crap, they need to just go with the flow like everybody else, you know, and put the Rhino McCarthy in, just give it up, blah blah blah, go with the establishment, which nothing will get done. And eventually, of course, they caved in and they all went with McCarthy, and they're gonna hold him accountable if he doesn't give all that he promises, blah blah blah, whatever. It's literally the establishment. They're going to do the same shit they always do. They are supposed to be there to work for the people, and they're not. We are their bosses, but they act like they're in charge and they'll do whatever the fuck they want. They don't listen to their constituencies. They won't. They never do. So they'll just do the same shit they always do. McCarthy is a fucking rhino. He rolls over whenever the Dems want something, or Democrats want something, and he does it anyway. Always does. So nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to change. So don't get your hopes up. Anyways, moving on. I got a Willow update, I guess, for you. You know, I watched the last 2 episodes of Willow. Apparently now you have trolls who act like the goblins from Lord of the Rings. They got like this giant city army underground building shit out of fire and chemicals and crap. And then instead of being black hair, now they're white haired. And they're educated. Whereas, you know, Canon from the movie, they're black hair, they're like cavemen, and they speak gibberish. But whatever. Moving on. I guess they got Christian Slater to come in and try to play a role, which was dumb. It was a dumb role. You didn't need him in there, so whatever. The oh, I got daddy issues, Kit, princess. I need to go follow him into a strange tunnel when he disappeared like 20 years ago. Really? Okay, whatever. And now supposedly the big lug Sasquatch has got the magical armor, and he's afraid to use it. Okay. And then they go across I thought they were going across an ocean at first, but then I realized it's literally just mud with a layer of water on top of it. So they're literally going across this mud desert, I guess you would call it. The only cool thing that they had in the whole entire episode was the mud creature. Other than that, the rest of the episode sucked. Because apparently it causes them despair and they're sorrowful and blah blah blah. You know, they want to kill themselves and yada yada yada. Throughout the whole episode, that's what it is. Them just whining. And then they get to the end of the whatever they want to call it, Dead Sea place or whatever. And it's like this giant waterfall into nothingness. And of course the two little girls, they decide they're going to jump off and kill themselves and leave everybody else behind. But obviously it doesn't kill them. They end up coming down in the water, in the waterfall, next to a desert. With that city that her supposed brother is in. Now the brother has been talking to this girl who claims she's a princess from a different kingdom. And she's there to help him. Sure. After she berates him, and then later on tries to get him to screw her. So it's just retarded. Feminist crap. Anyways, he chops off his hair and now he's a new man. Blah 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 because of her. Oh my god. And of course you have the horrible fucking remake music that they keep doing. Disney, you suck at redoing music. Stop. It's garbage. If you can't play the original music, don't play it. Seriously. Because they butcher every song that they keep playing after every episode. It's just god awful. Anyways, that's my update so far. Like I said, the show's trash. I just figured to tell you some of the reasons why. Okay. So, I just got done watching a movie on Netflix called Day Shift. If you haven't heard of this movie, it's basically about vampires and vampire hunters. That's what it is. But it's all, for the most part, black people. You got Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg, and the female lead that plays the wife is Megan Good. Now, the film was okay. Wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. I like Jamie Foxx as an actor. Snoop Dogg can't act worth a fuck. Worth a fuck. That dude needs to just stop. And literally, he had his hair pulled back and shit, and his eyes were bulging out and shit. And I looked at him and I was like, they must have named him after a fucking chihuahua, because that's what he looks like. That's how he got his nickname, Snoop Dogg, because he looks like a fucking chihuahua. I mean, little bitty chihuahua. I was laughing my ass off when I saw him. It's just funny as fuck. I'm not a fan of Snoop Dogg at all. I think he's a retard. But that's my opinion of him. He smoked all his brain cells away, you know. He just says some of the dumbest shit. Anyways, and he acts dumb. But still, regardless of that, basically the story is, you know, Jamie's character is, he's a vampire hunter who's been knocked out of the main office that helps hunters hunt vampires. Like, for some odd reason, they collect their teeth, and they get money for the teeth, but the movie never explains why these places collect the teeth. Never does. Anyways, there's this one particular vampire who shows up that Jamie Foxx kills her daughter, which looked like she was way older than fucking the woman who claims it to be her mother. But whatever. You know, that vampire age crap could be different, but still. Anyways, she's supposed to be this powerful vampire. She comes into town and she's looking for her daughter, finds out Jamie kills her, so now she's trying to kill Jamie and his family. Snoop Dogg gets involved because he's buddies with Jamie, and he gets him back into whatever that vampire place is called that all the vampire hunters go to sell teeth. But whatever. You know, at the end, all ends well, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end of the movie. You know, he ends up killing her and her minions. Like I said, it's okay. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't all that good either. I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It was cheesy, but it was alright movie. It's worth a one-time watch. If you can get past Snoop Dogg's ridiculous acting. But anyways, that's it for that. Let's get on to your B-movie reviews.
Then I dash away from Popo. Yeah, snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no.
Alright, movie holics. This week is Fantasy Week. Now, I chose a couple of historical fantasy movies. Most of your historical movies, the majority of them are not based on fact. They sprinkle a little bit of facts in it, but the majority of it is fantasy. Because historically we don't know completely all the facts of some of the stories that get told. That's just the truth. So the first one we're going to go over is called Apocalypto. Now, it was done in 2006 and made about 120 mil, which is okay, I guess. It was directed by Mel Gibson. It starred Rudy Youngblood, and the one that played his wife, Etab Dehu, Gut Amez, Gutierrez. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it, but anyways, she played the wife. Basically, the story is supposed to be based upon, before the Mayan people kind of just disappeared. What happened to the civilization? Blah, blah, blah. And for the first like hour or whatever, all you're getting is stuff about the tribe that the story focuses on at the beginning of the movie. They're just a little village or tribe of Mayans by themselves, isolated. And apparently there's several of these groups, which you later find out. Anyways, they come across another group that is fleeing their home because their home was ravaged by men. So you have another village or group who shows them that something's coming down the way. And then eventually you get the group who live in the city. And they come and they kill a bunch of villagers and then make the rest of them prisoner. Now Rudy, who plays the character Jaguar Paw, he leaves his pregnant wife and his little son, he's probably about 5 years old, 5 or 6, down in this like big hole, almost like a well, to hide from the men who came and ransacked their village and made the villagers prisoners. They take the prisoners away to the city, where along the way this little girl who supposedly has like some kind of sickness or disease tells them a prophecy about the day turning to night and that a jaguar is amongst you and he's going to kill all of you. She tells that to the men who ransack the village. Now, once they get into the city, they realize the men, they sell the women, and then they realize the men are being painted blue and then taken up to the top of this pyramid where they're getting their heads chopped off and their hearts taken out and not eaten. They don't eat the hearts. They give it to some priest who does some kind of ritual over it. But anyways, the sacrifices is because they haven't had any rain. There's in some kind of drought, so they're keep sacrificing people to appease the gods and get some rain. However, when they go to put Jaguar Paw on the altar, there's an eclipse, and they spare him, thinking it's the god that has been appeased by the blood. But you can tell that the priests don't believe that. He just makes the shit up. But anyways, they're taken to this area where the main leader of the hunting party was told to dispose of them. And they have these little games where, you know, they try to kill them as they're running towards the end of the field. Well, Jaguar Paw, he kind of ends up killing the leader's son, with the hunting party's leader, his son. He kills him, and that pisses him off. And then the rest of the group, they start tracking him through the trees, because now it's them hunting him. But he turns it around on him, and he starts hunting them instead and starts killing them off one by one. So he ends up basically killing them all, except for two. Two of the minions, you know, that no big thing, you know. They come in right behind him, and they could have killed him, because they make it to the beach where the ocean is. But they see ships. And these are Spanish ships. So you see the Spanish are coming to shore. Jaguar Paul leaves them two there on the beach. And then he goes and gets his wife out of the out of the hole that's filling up with water. And they take off and go somewhere else. Now she also had the baby in the water while she was trying to keep his son from drowning. So she had a little bit of struggle herself. But he gets him out and they take off, and that's the end of the movie. Like, you don't know what happens to him. Because it did, the reason why the well or hole was filled up with water, because it did decide to rain. So he was trying his best to hurry to her while he was killing off the hunters. Or warriors, or whatever you want to call them. But anyways, that's the end of the movie. It was a decent movie. However, it had a lot of problems because Mel Gibson wanted to use the actual language of the Mayans, which a lot of people don't care for subtitled movies. I'm not a big fan of subtitles myself, but I still enjoyed the movie even though I had to read everything. And that's one of the main things why it didn't do as well as it could have. It would have been so much better if he didn't do subtitles, but whatever. It's a good movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. It's a pretty good movie. You just have to deal with subtitles if you're going to watch it. Alright, let's move on to the next. The next one I watched was the 2004 adaptation of King Arthur. And it was done in 2000, I already said that, it was done in 2004. It made about $203 million, so it did fairly well. Now, it had Keira Knightley in it, and also had Clive Owen as King Arthur. Now, I do not understand what happened to Clive Owen or even Gerald Butler. You know, they're kind of similar. But Clive Owen, you know, those two were fairly coming up, becoming big stars, and then they just faded away. I've never heard of Clive Owen or Gerald Butler for a long time now. Anyways, at the beginning of the movie, it tells you that there's evidence that King Arthur might have been a Roman and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, honestly, they have so many archaeological evidence finds that King Arthur could have been a real person, blah, blah, blah. But basically what they know is that it's based off of like stories from other cultures, you know. All these stories have been meshed together to create the legend of King Arthur. That's what they definitely know. If there was even such a person that existed, it was probably based off of several different legends. Anyways, this movie is basically based off of another particular story of a Roman who led some, I forget what they call them. I guess they're like Germanic knights. And they were the Knights of the Round Table, blah, blah, blah. So this story is Arthur. He's part British, part Roman. He takes up the leadership of these Germanic knights, whom were defeated in battle by Romans, but then the Romans liked them as soldiers, so they started making them into soldiers. So these particular knights became under Arthur's command. In this particular movie, Merlin leads an army of British natives. And they've been fighting the Romans for a long time. A bishop shows up and tells Arthur that his knights can have their freedom after they do one last mission for Rome, because Rome is pulling out of Britain. So he tells Arthur that him and what's left of his knights, they have a mission up north past this wall that they built, a wall to keep the native British on their side. He tells them that the Saxons are invading Britain with a massive army, and that he needs Arthur and his knights to go get one particular family that the Pope adores and wants brought back home to Rome. That's past the north wall, to the north of Britain. So Arthur and his knights go to get this family. When they get there, they find out that this family has been treating Britons like British natives like shit, torturing them and all kinds of crap. He frees them all. And eventually basically kills the father. But it's the son that the Pope wants, not the father. The father was causing all the problems, and he eventually gets killed. The Saxons eventually show up at the wall after chasing them a while. And Arthur tells his knights that they're free now. They got their papers, blah, blah, blah. They brought the son back, yada, 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 the family or whatever. They'll make it to Rome. And the Saxons can't kill them. So, but instead of doing that, Arthur decides to stay and fight the Saxons from invading the British Isle, whatever, Britain. He doesn't want the Saxons to be able to continue their conquest. So he decides he's going to put an end to their raid. The knights, of course, instead of taking their freedom, they decide to join him to fight. And of course, Merlin and his British natives, along with Karen Knightley, who's one of them, they decide to help fight. She plays Guinevere, by the way. A couple of the knights die in the fighting, but they eventually stop the Saxons. And that's, Arthur and Guinevere get married at the end, and they bury their fellow knights, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. It was okay. It was decent. It had a lot of action in it, a lot more. I guess because I ended up watching the director's cut, and it's like way more action than I remember, like a lot more fighting. So if you want to see a lot of fighting, there's definitely a lot of fighting in this. It is a pretty good movie. I like the movie, even though it's completely historically inaccurate. It's all fiction, but it's still entertaining, very good. 2 thumbs up. If you're looking for a good action flick, historical fantasy or whatever, definitely check it out. It's a pretty good movie. And that's pretty much all I have for you this week. Now, if you have any thoughts about what I said earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any films that you think is underrated, B flicks, that kind of stuff, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below. You know, if you think I've never heard of it, please leave it in the comment section down below, and I will get to reviewing it as soon as I can. So until next week, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you just been told.